June 28, 2024. In Columbus, Ohio, 8-year-old Martonio Wilder has been reported missing.
Okay, has he run away before? Okay, have you checked the residence thoroughly?
He's been gone since last night.
All right, the missing is going to be 8 years old, male black.
So we're over here looking, Hamilton and 18.
Y'all looking for somebody?
Yeah, we're looking for this kid.
And in those crucial first hours since his disappearance, the cops put out an Amber Alert and
On July 14, 2023, a property assessor for the city of Detroit filed a routine report on a single-family home located on the 1800 block of West Chicago Street. The report noted the structure's exterior was in average condition, with no visible hazards. The interior, of course, the assessor never saw. On the public record, the property was valued at $42,000. That official valuation did not account for the cage. Before we go deeper into what the records actually show, make sure you're subscribed to the Crime Infinity, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. This is the story of a house that was never a home, but the city's paperwork said it was. And that piece of paper is the first lie in a chain of evidence that would eventually lead to a discovery so grotesque, it forced the Wayne County Medical Examiner's Office to revise their definition of cruelty. The story begins, as these stories often do, with a missing person report. But the call didn't come from a frantic parent or a concerned neighbor. It came from a caseworker at Child Protective Services who had been trying to locate 4 children for 3 weeks. The caseworker had a court order for a wellness check, but every time she arrived at the West Chicago Street address, the door was locked, the blinds were drawn, and the cars were gone. On August 2, 2023, she filed an official unable to locate report. That document, stamped and filed in the state's family court system, triggered a response from the Detroit Police Department's Special Victims Unit. When officers arrived at 8:47 a.m., the house was quiet. The grass was overgrown. The front porch was littered with discarded fast food wrappers and a child's bicycle that had been stripped of its wheels.
The officers start to search the house and the backyard for any signs of him.
Let me go check out here real quick, okay?
5-3, do we have a last closing description?
No, I'll work on it here. I'm just checking the house real quick. Just give me a few. So there's no family or friends around? No, no other family or friends. What?
I haven't seen nobody else when I walked around the house.
All right.
The officers knocked, and for a long minute, there was no answer. Then, the door cracked open. The woman who answered identified herself as 34-year-old Imani Ridgeway, the mother of the children in question. She told the officers she had no idea what they were talking about. Her kids were fine. They were just at a friend's house for the summer. She was polite, cooperative. She offered them water. She told them she was just about to start her shift at a nursing home. The officers, seeing no immediate threat and hearing a credible explanation, left the property at 9:15 a.m. They filed a report that stated, "Contact made with mother. Children reportedly safe at friend's residence. No signs of foul play. Case closed." That was the second lie. The third lie was the house itself. 36 hours later, at 10:47 p.m., a neighbor 2 doors down called 911 to report a child screaming. The dispatcher's log records the neighbor's voice as frightened but coherent.
911, what's the address of your emergency?
I'm at 1044 Olmsted Avenue, please. And I get a school to hear my 8-year-old son run away last night. My other son, they got separate rooms, so they was in different rooms. Nobody did leave. I don't know what child is.
What time was the last time you seen him?
We all went to bed at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. My back door was wide open. Oh, man.
She said she had heard a high-pitched screaming, like someone was in pain, coming from the Ridgeway house. By the time officers arrived, the screaming had stopped. The house was silent. Lights were off. They knocked. No answer. Under standard procedures, with no active sign of a crime in progress and no warrant, the officers could not force entry. They left a card. They drove away. And the house fell silent again, as if it was waiting for the next piece of paper to be signed. The ticking clock moment of this entire investigation arrived not at the house, but in a courtroom 3 days later. That is when Judge Carla Hendricks signed a search warrant. The warrant was based on the testimony of a 10-year-old boy named Marcus, who had managed to escape the property 2 hours prior. He had run to a gas station 3 blocks away, barefoot, covered in bruises, and wearing a t-shirt that was 3 sizes too small. He had told the clerk, "You need to call the police. My mom is killing my brothers." The warrant was simple. It authorized the search of the premises for evidence of child abuse and neglect. What they found inside the house was not just evidence. It was a record, a compiled archive of systematic cruelty that rendered the official reports from the assessor, the police, and the state as useless as the paper they were printed on. The officers who executed the warrant at 6:05 a.m. on August 6th found a home that appeared, on the surface, to be a normal, albeit cluttered, living space. Dishes in the sink, couch in the living room, a television mounted on the wall. But the smell was the first thing that broke the illusion. It was a smell of ammonia, rotting garbage, and something metallic. The smell of fear and filth. In the basement, they found the cage.
Still not expecting the extent of the horrors they find inside. The attic is locked. When they break it open, they discover a sleeping bag wrapped up tightly. They cut the strings and see a black trash bag, and inside that trash bag is the body of 8-year-old Martonio.
It was a large, custom-built wooden structure, approximately 8 feet by 10 feet, reinforced with metal brackets and a heavy-duty padlock on the outside. Inside, there were 4 soiled sleeping bags, a single bucket for waste, a chain bolted to the concrete floor, and on the wall, written in crayon by a child, were the words, "Please let me out." The evidence inside that cage told a story that contradicted every official document filed by the state. The police records from the wellness check said the children were safe. The property assessor's report said the house was a standard structure. But the physical evidence in that basement documented a pattern of confinement, starvation, and torture that the defendants would later argue was discipline. It was an excuse that evaporates under the weight of the medical examiner's report. Inside the house, hidden in a crawl space that had been sealed with plywood and screws, officers found the body of an 8-year-old child. The remains, identified through dental records as 8-year-old Elijah Ridgeway, were a skeleton wrapped in a plastic tarp. The tarp was held in place with duct tape. The autopsy, conducted by Dr. Elena Vasquez, revealed a litany of chronic injuries.
He has visible bruises on his face and cuts on his back. There's a deep compression on his neck, which might be his cause of death. On autopsy, the medical examiner also discovers bleeding on his brain. He's abnormally thin, but he didn't die of natural causes.
He had 17 healed fractures in various stages of repair. His ribs were a lattice of calloused bone. His collarbone had been broken and set incorrectly, causing a permanent malformation. His cause of death was determined to be sepsis resulting from an untreated compound fracture of the left femur. The bone had broken through the skin, and the wound had become infected. Instead of receiving medical care, Elijah was placed in the crawlspace. He was left there until his body shut down. The official report from the medical examiner's office notes: no evidence of nutritional fat or muscle mass. Severe protein-calorie malnutrition. The subject did not die from a single event, but from a prolonged failure to provide the basic necessities of life. That is the damning phrase that defines this case, and it is one we must repeat to understand the crime that was committed here: a prolonged failure to provide the basic necessities of life. A prolonged failure to provide the basic necessities of life. When the police arrested Imani Ridgeway, she was at her job at the nursing home. She was taken into custody without incident. Her boyfriend, 39-year-old Terrence Dodd, was arrested 2 hours later in a motel room on the other side of the city. In the interrogation room, Ridgeway was composed. She was calm. She asked for a lawyer, but before the lawyer arrived, she volunteered a statement to the detective. She said, "You have to understand. Elijah was difficult. He acted out. He stole food. He was a menace. We tried to love him, but he made it impossible." She said the cage was the only thing that worked. She said she wasn't a bad mother. She was just a mother who ran out of options. She told the detective she believed the state had failed her, that she had asked for help and no one came.
My girlfriend told me she had something to tell me, and I went and met up with her. Well, we got dropped. I came to her house. She said her son was missing. And when she said her son was missing, I came to help look for him.
Then the cops found Martonio's body.
And I was asking her, like, was going on, she wouldn't really tell me at first. So when she had told me, finally came out and told me after the body was found in the house, she had told me what was going on. She said she didn't want to lose both of her sons because her 9-year-old had her other son to death with a rock. So when she told me, all I could do is say, you gotta tell them the truth. You gotta tell them that your 9-year-old killed your 8-year-old with a rock. And then she was like, but I don't want to lose my son. I said, well, you already lost one. You're gonna go to jail. I'm being at risk, helping you out.
Then the detective played the recording of the 911 call from the neighbor, the one where the child was screaming. He asked Ridgeway to explain what the child was screaming about. She stared at the table for a long time. She said, he was screaming because he was in timeout. Terrence Dodd told a different story. He said he knew nothing about the cage. He said he was just the boyfriend. He said he worked double shifts. He said he was never home. He said it was all Imani. He said she was controlling. He said she was the one who decided what the kids ate, what they wore, where they slept. He made her sound like a monster. And he made himself sound like a bystander. But the evidence contradicted him as well. His fingerprints were found on the padlock.
Does Lashana do?
I mean, he get.
How does he get?
I mean, she working with belts.
Belts?
Mm-hmm.
What else?
I done seen her working with extension cord.
Extension cord?
Yeah, or a switch.
LaShonda, apparently, was known to discipline Martonio.
What else how else does he get in trouble? What kind of punishments does he get?
I mean, he gotta walk up and down the steps with this ball or cans. Walk up and down the steps.
What is it?
A weight ball.
Okay, like a kettlebell type thing?
No, a weight ball.
Does he have to
His
do
DNA was found on the duct tape used to seal the crawl space. A notebook found in the kitchen, written in Dodd's handwriting, detailed a reward system that listed minor infractions like looking at the fridge or talking after 8 p.m. The punishment for these infractions was no food for 48 hours. The reward for going a whole week without screaming was 1 sandwich. But the most damning evidence came from his own phone. Text messages between him and Ridgeway discussed the children as if they were livestock. In one exchange, Ridgeway texted, "He won't stop crying." Dodd replied, "Put him in the box. He'll learn." That message was sent 2 days before Elijah was placed in the crawl space for the final time. The prosecution's case was built on the paper trail that Imani Ridgeway and Terrence Dodd were trying to hide. They tried to paint a picture of a chaotic family system that was beyond the control of the parents. They tried to argue that the children were hard to manage. But the forensic evidence dismantled that argument.
Told him.
Detective here is trying to give you one last opportunity because we are leaving, but let me ask you one more question. And again, I'm not trying to get you upset or anything. Because I don't think you did anything. But is there any reason that LaShonda's going to say that you were the one that put hands on him?
I didn't put no hands on Martonia.
The last time you saw him alive there.
What did she do?
I mean, she did with the stitch cord.
What else did she do with the cord?
I can't even remember everything. I know before I had to stop her though from getting Martonio out.
Yeah.
That's
what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about.
The medical examiner testified that Elijah was 40% below the expected body weight for a child his age. The state argued that this was not an accident. This was not bad parenting. This was a calculated program of deprivation. The cage was not a timeout space. It was a cell. The crawl space was not storage. It was a grave. The state's final argument was delivered with simple, devastating clarity. Your Honor, the defendant didn't run out of options. She ran out of empathy. The jury deliberated for just 4 hours. They were both found guilty of felony murder, torture, and child abuse. Imani Ridgeway was sentenced to 35 years to life. Terrence Dodd was sentenced to 30 years to life. In her final statement to the court, Ridgeway read from a piece of paper. Her voice was steady. She said, "I take full responsibility for my actions. I was not a good mother. I am sorry for what happened. I pray for my children." She did not look at the judge. She looked at the gallery of journalists. She cried, But no tears fell. It was a performance. The judge, in his sentencing remarks, noted that he had handled thousands of cases in his career, but this was the first time he had seen a cage in a suburban home. He said, "This is not about mental illness. This is not about poverty. This is about absolute control. The state exists to protect its most vulnerable citizens. And we failed Elijah." Every single agency that had contact with this family failed Elijah. But the state does not control the courtroom. This court does. And this court is done failing him. For the crime infinity, we do not just follow the evidence. We follow it until it breaks open the lies that hide in plain sight. This is the story of a prolonged failure to provide the basic necessities of life. It is a story that echoes in courtrooms across the country, where the evidence sits in a file, waiting for someone to read it. We have done the reading. Now we ask you to think about the files that are still closed. What other houses on your street are hiding a cage? What other 911 calls from a frightened neighbor were filed away and forgotten? We will direct you to the public docket. Wayne County Circuit Court Case number 23 to 87,954. It is available online. We ask you to look at the evidence list. Look at the photographs. Read the transcripts. And ask yourself one question. How many official reports does it take to cover up a murder? Let us know in the comments. Until next time, stay critical, stay vigilant, and keep following the evidence here on the Crime Infinity. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive into the cases that the world forgot.